Liddell Lee remains on death row at this hour, dodging a scheduled 7 o'clock execution at the very last minute. But he could still face lethal injection before the end of the night. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Kelly.
I'm Donna Terrell. We have live team coverage tonight, starting with Jesse Tenure, who's inside the Cummins unit, waiting to see if this execution will happen. Stephanie Sharp covering the inmates' crimes and the victim reaction. Charmaine Nero is at protests that are going on as we speak at the governor's mansion. And Marcy Manley in the studio following all the legal back and forth. And yes, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. We've been told by the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals that Liddell Lee's stay of execution could be lifted by 9:15, meaning they could start the execution process during our newscast. And if this actually happens, it would be the first execution in the state of Arkansas since 2005 when Eric Nance was put to death. There's been a lot, I mean a ton, not just a lot, but a ton of legal back and forth all day long. Fox 16's Marcy Manley is live in the studio to talk about that. And Marcy, I guess the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals is going over this case with a fine-tooth comb.
That's right. So we did have some activity. We had a per curiam order. One of the requests for stay was denied for Liddell Lee. And according to the AG's office, I'm confirming some of this information with them because at this point we've had several cases filed and it's unclear on some of these which ones are related to which case and how many of these are remaining. But according to the AG's office, we've got 2 more sort of claims pending at the 8th Circuit and then 4 at the Arkansas Supreme Court of Arkansas, or maybe it's the Supreme Court of the United States. But regardless, we have 4, and that may be the United States Supreme Court that he's sending me there. But we have 6 claims outstanding at this point, so there's still a lot to be decided. In the next 13 minutes is when that stay continues until, and right now we're simply updating the dockets, checking in with Drew Petrimo in D.C. I'm monitoring these developments down here, and really we're watching and waiting, much like everyone else. I think the only people, if anyone, at this point who knows the outcome of the 8th Circuit's deliberations will be the 8th Circuit, and they will release that when they feel like they've been able to make a decision. So right now, Liddell Lee is sitting in Cummins' unit and was anticipated to have been put to death at 7 p.m. Then it became 8:15 when the stay came in, and then that was extended by the United States Supreme Court until 8:30, and then the 8th Circuit came back and said, okay, we're going to extend it to 9:15. So at this point, we're 12 minutes away from that next deadline, and it remains to be seen with 2 issues pending at the 8th Circuit, according to the Attorney General's office, 4 up at the United States Supreme Court, whether or not 9:15 will actually be the time that we get a decision on some of these legal matters. And Kevin, I don't know, you've been watching some of these developments, and any thoughts about what you're seeing transpire here?
Well, if I can just kind of feed off of what you've been following in reference to the claims that are before the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals as well as the U.S. Supreme Court. It's my understanding, and I don't know all of them, but I know at least one of them is a challenge to the lower court's decision on the way the state handled its clemency process, and then another one is arguing that Lee is, quote, intellectually disabled and as a result should not be put to death. Granted, that's only 2 possibilities, but we're talking about 6, as you mentioned. So I know you're following that closely. But as Marcy mentioned, we are literally just 11 minutes away from that 9:15 time that the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals had blocked the execution until. So we'll continue to follow that very closely. However, when and if a green light is given for an execution to begin, whether it's Lee or some other inmate that is scheduled between now and the end of the month, a number of protocols must be followed. The state of Arkansas has had years to iron these out to hopefully ensure a smooth process for all parties involved.
According to the state's lethal injection procedure, the executioner will enter the chamber prior to the inmate's scheduled time of execution. They will inspect what's called the injection drug box, ensuring all chemicals are accounted for. The gurney will be positioned so the deputy director and executioner can directly see the inmate's face and IV infusion site. At that point, the condemned inmate will be brought in and strapped down. The IV team, who are licensed and have at least 2 years' experience, will then insert 2 IV bags containing normal saline. When the flow is secure and safe, the warden will give the green light. The IV team will first administer 2 syringes containing 250 milligrams of midazolam, a sedative that is supposed to make the inmate unconscious. If the inmate is not unconscious, backup syringes of midazolam and saline will be given in a secondary infusion site. There will then be a 5-minute waiting period, at which point the deputy director will confirm the inmate is in fact unconscious. Once that is determined, the second drug will be administered. 2 syringes containing 50 milligrams of vecuronium bromide, a paralytic. Then comes the third and final drug. 2 syringes of 120 milliequivalents of potassium chloride will begin to flow, ultimately causing the inmate's heart to stop.
And that's if everything goes according to plan. But if there is a problem, whether it be with the IV, the infusion site, or possibly a collapsed vein, the deputy director will immediately reduce the chemical flow. The curtains will be drawn and the IV team will hopefully be able to fix the problem. Once that happens, the curtain will reopen and the execution will continue. I do want to point out, though, that the protocol procedure does not specifically state what will happen if the problem can't be fixed. Of course, we're just a few minutes from our 9:15 deadline. We want to go back out to my co-anchor, Donna Terrell. She joins us live at the Cummins unit to kind of give us an update on if there's any movement as we approach the 9:15 hour.
Well, there is no movement out here where we are, but I will tell you, inside is where, reporters, witnesses, they're gearing up for this. Just listening to Marcy Manley just a few minutes ago, it sounds like it's likely that this will happen. It's 9:07 now. 9:16, 9:15 is the time when Liddell Lee is expected to be put to death. One of the things we can't forget about is the victim. The victim. Deborah Reese. She was killed in her Jacksonville home back in 1993. And her family, they're here tonight. They will be watching this execution, should it happen, in a room via closed circuit. They will not be in the witness room with the witnesses and the media. They will have their privacy. And certainly, you can understand why. There could be tears, there could be just a lot of emotion. I want to bring in Stephanie Sharp, who's been following the families of the victims, and we're talking specifically tonight about Liddell Lee's victim, Deborah Reese.
Exactly, and we were told, like you said, the family, Deborah Reese's family, they are here on the prison grounds somewhere. They're here to witness this execution. If it does go through and all of these legal battles kind of resolve itself. But this family has been waiting a long time.
24 years to be exact.
24 years. They have been waiting 24 years for this day. So wherever they are here in this area, you can just you couldn't even imagine, I should say, what they're thinking and what is going through their mind at this point in time. They have been waiting a long time for this, and they continue having to wait minutes.
Yeah.
But we did want to take a look at the crime that was committed by Liddell Lee and Deborah Reese and her family. KRK4's or Fox16's Jesse Turner was able to speak with them and get a little bit more of a sense of what's going through their minds, and she has this report.
My family has lived in the shadow of this event our entire lives.
In February 1993, 27-year-old Liddell Lee robbed and strangled 26-year-old Deborah Reese in her Jacksonville home. He then beat her 36 times with the same tire thumper her husband gave her for protection. Her son was only 6 years old.
My mother was everything to me.
24 years later, Joseph Lucky, now a grown man, whose loss still affects him every day.
When she was ripped from my life, it started a spiral that I almost didn't recover from.
Lee was sentenced to death 2 years after Reese's murder. Prosecutors say she wasn't his only victim. Lee committed violent crimes against 5 women, all in the Sunnyside area of Jacksonville, some involving rape, some ending with murder. His victims' ages ranged from 17 to 70.
He is the embodiment of the evil that should never have to exist in this world.
After 21 years on death row, Lee maintains his innocence. He and his attorney arguing he deserves post-conviction DNA testing.
He's not here to ask for forgiveness. He's not here because he's remorseful for a murder he didn't commit.
His victim's son asking one thing: let it happen.
Let us have some closure. Let this end. Let us step out from this shadow.
And Donna, one thing that I did want to mention, the ADC did confirm today that Liddell Lee's original date to die, his original execution date was February 1996.
1996.
So this family has really been waiting a long time for
Here
this
it
day.
is, 2017. Wow. All right. Thank you very much for that. Well, initially tonight we were told that Liddell Lee would be executed at 7 o'clock, and then 8:15. And then it was put on hold, and then put on hold again. And certainly we've had a lot of back and forth information, and now we're told that the time will be 9:15. It is now 9:11. Kevin, we're very close to at least finding out if this stay of execution will be lifted.
Well, keep holding your breath, Donna. This could change at any second, any minute, as you well know. In fact, we do have some new information just into Fox 16. Marcy Manley been following the legal actions. We were talking earlier about these number of claims that have been presented in front of the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals as well as the U.S. Supreme Court. But one of them, we just got information from the AG's office about one of those claims.
That's right. Just shortly before or shortly after 9 o'clock, we saw one of the motions for a stay of execution and through this appeal get denied. So that was one, and we were told there are 2 more to go in the 8th Circuit, 2 more claims to be dealt with in the 8th Circuit. And at this point, another has been denied. So we are down to 1 claim in the 8th Circuit, but all of these can then be appealed up to the United States Supreme Court. But one of the interesting things that we talked to the Attorney General's office about, and I only mean interesting because it could be a hinge point for how this night goes. If they deny these stay for execution orders, they meaning the 8th Circuit.
Okay.
If all of those get denied, and there's not a stay in place, then there's nothing preventing the execution, and it would be at the governor's discretion unless the Supreme Court took action. And we have seen that play out before. Drew Petromo is in Washington, D.C. right now. He's monitoring sort of the Supreme Court of the United States activity. And Drew, we had a number of filings in the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, and I'm assuming you're continuing to monitor those for any action by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, earlier in the night we had the Supreme Court denying stays to Liddell Lee, but then there have been some subsequent filings, appeals from the 8th Circuit Court on more recent cases. Those issues currently before the Supreme Court now. And as you just mentioned, these denials that are coming from the 8th Circuit, those could ultimately be appealed to the Supreme Court as well. But if you kind of boil it all down, boil all these motions down, boil everything that's happening right now there is not a stay in place. And as we get to this 9:15 timeline here and get to 9:30, and when these delays basically expire, if there is not a stay in place, the executions can go forward even if there are still pending legal issues.
Yeah, and I think we saw that kind of play out earlier, Drew. Thank you. We'll be checking back in with you in just a moment, but we saw that kind of play out earlier this evening at 7 o'clock. There was nothing to prevent Liddell Lee's execution from taking place until the very last minute. The 8th Circuit Court of Appeals immediately jumped in, issued a stay, and extended it until 8:15, extended it to 9:15, and we are actually 10 seconds away from it becoming 9:15. So we want to check back in with Donna Terrell at the Cummins unit. Donna?
And you know, it's very interesting, Kevin, because it's so quiet out here. Outside of Cummins' unit, you wouldn't even know that they were getting ready for an execution. You wouldn't even know the severity of the crime or any of this. It's just very, very calm. I've been trying to keep up with as much of this as I possibly can, but what I am told is as I mentioned to you before, the family obviously separated from everyone, but the witnesses, they will be brought into the witness room. They won't get there until 15 minutes after the prep. So let's say this does happen at 9:15 or 9:16. Whenever it happens, it's going to take at least 15 minutes for them to get him on a gurney and prepped. Then the curtain will open. Once that curtain opens, then the witnesses, including 3 media representatives, will be able to watch and to hear. There will be a person standing over Liddell Lee, reminding him of his crime and also letting him make last statements. Kevin?
All right, Donna, thank you very much. We're going to have to see how this unfolds. If, in fact, it does, we could, as far as we know, this could actually be happening as we speak in terms of the preps. Donna's obviously outside. We do have crews on the inside in the media room awaiting official confirmation that the ball is rolling and the process has begun. But we've got some new information into Fox 16. Marcy, is this coming from the AG's office? As
Yeah,
we
this
see
is
right
the
here?
spokesperson for the Arkansas Attorney General, and I was clicking through the docket and seeing these things as he tweeted this out. But the final issue in front of the 8th Circuit by Liddell Lee for a stay of execution has been denied. That resolves all of the issues right now at the 8th Circuit, which means it's kind of unclear what it means. We would assume that the parties would try and appeal to the United States Supreme Court because they have in the other denial of stays from the Arkansas Supreme Court. But right now there is no stay in place to make it where this execution can't move forward unless the United States Supreme Court steps in and issues something to that effect, and I haven't received notice that that has happened.
Would the U.S. Supreme Court do that on their own, or would they have to hear directly from Lee's attorneys to make that kind of argument?
Well, at this point, they already have applications for the request for stay of execution stemming from the Arkansas State Supreme Court denials. So they already have these applications for those stays pending in front of them as the Supreme Court. If they wanted to give themselves more time to review those, also give time for these issues to be appealed from the 8th Circuit, then the court might issue, on its own motion, a stay to either temporary or indefinitely, because it has the power to do so to review those. Otherwise, it's up to the governor, from what I understand, per the Attorney General's office, without a stay in place from either entity. It is then at the governor's discretion whether or not the execution proceeds forward.
Are you surprised at all that here we are 3 minutes after that 9:15 timeline, if you will, that we haven't heard of an extension of more time for this to be reviewed? Is the silence a message in itself?
I don't know, but it sounds like we have the governor's spokesperson out there at Cummins. He could maybe shed some light on what's going on behind the scenes there from an official standpoint. Donna?
All right, I have J.R. Davis here. He is the spokesperson for Governor Asa Hutchinson. And, you know, this is very confusing for a lot of people. I mean, you know,
for everybody.
for everyone. So my first question to you is, has the execution process begun?
The stay is still in effect. Or I know that it was a 9:15. I see what's going on at this point. But the whole point of the 9:15 stay, I don't know what time it is at this point, but the whole point of the 9:15 stay was to give the 8th Circuit and the Supreme Court more time to hear all of these appeals.
Yeah, and that's what we figured. It's 9:19 right now, so go ahead.
I do know that the final, my understanding is that the final appeal at the 8th Circuit, there were 3 of them when they started. They've denied all 3. Those appeals will now go to the Supreme Court. So all of those appeals will go to the Supreme Court at this point. I believe there are 6, I believe, that they will deliberate on and make a decision on tonight. But the process here is important. So from this point going forward, the governor will wait to hear from the Attorney General after their analysis of the situation. Once everything is cleared up at the Supreme Court and they're able to lift the stay, the Attorney General will then convey that to the governor, and the governor will convey that to the Department of Corrections to begin the process of the execution of Liddell Lee.
And we have until midnight tonight. That's when the warrant expires, right?
Correct.
Okay. So this is just a hurry up and wait game. It's very similar to Monday. It's different,
you're right.
but it's similar in terms of
the
waiting.
Hurry up and wait part, you're correct. I do think, though, in the last hour we've seen some clarity. Again, it's sort of a bottleneck situation here, that it's a throw everything to the wall, see what sticks, and you've created this bottleneck that's going up the 8th Circuit. Part of it's in the Supreme Court, back in the 8th Circuit, still waiting for those to come up. So it's a confusing process, but I think it's important to note that the reason we're here in the first place is because of this ongoing litigation. Donna, I'm sure you saw the letter from the 28 elected prosecutors in Arkansas today saying they support the governor and the Attorney General, and that there is absolutely no doubt in their mind, as the governors, that these individuals committed these crimes. They were convicted, some multiple times, basically by jurors Arkansas juries who unanimously gave them the death penalty and capital punishment, which they only can do with a unanimous vote. So you can see there's absolutely no doubt of guilt in these cases. And in addition to that, though, everything we're seeing now is
Apologize
Sorry
for
about
that. Obviously, we had some difficulty there, but as you heard, Donna Terrell talking with the governor's spokesperson, J.R. Davis, who said that the appeals will, in fact, that were before the 8th Circuit, will now go before the Supreme Court of the United States. The Attorney General also weighing in, reiterating that the stay issued earlier from the Supreme Court of the United States is still in place pending further order of Justice Alito or the court. So the stays remain intact, at least for now.
And I believe we have picked back up with Donna and JR. Technology is what it is,
finest,
and it's
yes.
been operating for quite a bit. Maybe we don't have them back. But yes, okay, so point of clarification, because that was something that wasn't clear whether which court was the one that was going to lift the stay or not, and that was the question. Okay, what is the process here? J.R. Davis was sort of helping clear that up, but at this point, stay is still in place as these sort of final legal hurdles are cleared at the Supreme Court level. So right now, from what J.R. Davis said, the Attorney General's office is conferring with, or he's waiting to confer with the Attorney General's office, that is the governor, on what the process is, allowed these applications to move through the process up to the Supreme Court, and they do have that sort of time is ticking now against the midnight clock, and not just the set schedule for executions.
So explain the process. If these appeals are going now to the state Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, excuse me, will they be reviewing each individual claim, or is this something they've already are somewhat familiar with and will now look at it, I guess, more closely?
Well, each of these claims largely dealt with different issues that were being raised in different settings. So much like we had the 3 other orders that came down that dealt with the stay of executions for all these different reasons and for all these different inmates, the court reviews those based on the merits of the law and the facts, and then, as we saw, will either grant or deny a stay of execution. And so they'll be going through these applications. Typically, the entire court considers applications when it pertains to the death penalty, because it's submitted to one justice, these applications, and then typically capital cases are referred to the full court.
And are we at a point where we were last Monday, where everything else has been exhausted, and now we are waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court to make its decision?
That is correct.
That is correct. So we're at 9:24. The execution for Liddell Lee on hold, at least at this particular hour. He was originally scheduled to be put to death by lethal injection at 7 o'clock. However, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals came in and said, wait a minute, we need more time to review the case. They extended it to 7:15, then 8:15, and then 9:15, and here we are at 9:25 and still no execution. In the meantime, let's check back in with Donna Terrell. She is with the governor's spokesperson. Donna?
Yes, I'm here with J.R. Davis, and we were in the middle of our conversation when something happened that ended it. But let's pick back up where we left off. You said that there's clarity now, and basically what you're talking about is everything now is at the U.S. Supreme Court level, as opposed to all of these, the Eighth Circuit and all of these other courts.
Right, that's my understanding at this point. The reason for the stays in the first place, I think there were 3 appeals pending in the Eighth Circuit. Those have been denied and appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States, where everything, in my understanding right now, is before the SCOTUS, and we will hear hopefully from them, sooner rather than later. So.
Before midnight, for sure. The governor is not at the mansion tonight. He is actually at his office in the Capitol because there's an event going on at the mansion. Otherwise, I guess he would have been there. What's his overall feeling with everything that's happened so far? In terms of what's happened with Liddell Lee, the fact that the other inmate ended up with a stay of execution and not being executed tonight. Monday, 2 executions that did not happen. Another person granted clemency. The 8 people that he had lined up to be executed this month has dwindled down to 5.
Well, I would say the 8, sure, I would say the 8 individuals that were lined up by the broken judicial system is what the governor had to do. And the fact of the matter is we are at this situation because of the ongoing litigation that's brought it to this point. Now, the governor sees his responsibility as the executive branch as the governor to continue that process of justice. So if you don't set the dates, nothing moves forward. But the governor's also a former trial attorney, a U.S. district attorney. He understands the situation, and he knew when he set those 8 execution dates that would trigger litigation. It has. It's part of the process. The governor is absolutely confident in his decision and will continue to move forward, and we hope for a favorable opinion tonight so we can move forward with the justice of Liddell Lee.
Okay. All right, J.R. Davis, thank you so much for talking with us tonight. And once again, we're in a holding pattern. We're going to come back out here live again in a few minutes. We're going to toss it to a break right now. Stay with us. Fox 16 News at 9.
Hi, I'm John Dean. Excellent dental health, safety, and comfort are our highest priorities at Dean Dental Solutions. We use cutting-edge technology and sedation to realize the smile of your dreams. Call or visit at deandentalsolutions.com.
It's the Lazy Boy Furniture Gallery's Markdown Madness event. Get unbelievable deals on floor samples, closeouts, one-of-a-kinds, and more. Plus special financing available. The Markdown Madness event. Don't miss it. Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Live life comfortably.
Clio's spring cleaning event is going on now. Many items marked below dealer's cost. Floor models, one-of-a-kinds, and overstock have been reduced below dealer's cost during Clio's spring cleaning event. Hurry into Clio's today for the very best selection.
At Steve Landers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, we believe that every Jeep tells a story. Some have more miles, more character, and maybe even more mud. But they all have one thing in common: the soul of a Jeep. And if you own one or strive to, that's just something you understand. We sure do. Shop the spring clearance event and start your story today at Steve Landers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Above the Ray Theater, only in Little Rock.
They woke up early this morning. She's woke this morning. He's working on his props this morning. She's earned her props this morning. There's a McDonald's for every morning.
Enjoy an Egg White Delight or Egg McMuffin. 2 sandwiches or 1 with the medium McCafe coffee, soft drink, or sweet tea for $3.
Maestros lead with confidence, exactness, inspiration. At GMC, we're in tune with that degree of precision. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the GMC Acadia. The next generation SUV has arrived. Get 16% below MSRP on select 2017 Acadia vehicles in stock. That's over $7,600 on this Acadia Denali.
See your Arkansas Select Buick GMC dealer.
Buy your furniture below dealer's cost now during Clio's spring cleaning event. Mattresses, sofas, accessories, and much more have been reduced for immediate liquidation during Clio's spring cleaning event. For the very best selection, hurry into Clio's Furniture today.
It's the Lazy Boy Furniture Gallery's Markdown Madness event. Get unbelievable deals on floor samples, closeouts, one-of-a-kinds, and more. Plus special financing available. The Markdown Madness event. Don't miss it. Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Live life comfortably.
Fox 16 News is sponsored by Baptist Health.
Governor Asa Hutchinson watching the developments tonight as it pertains to the tentatively scheduled execution of Liddell Lee at the Cummins unit, which has been placed on hold, at least for the time being. The governor spending time tonight at the state capitol because of an ongoing scheduled event there. In the meantime, protesters are gathering outside the governor's mansion. Fox 16 Charmaine Nero covering that for us. She joins us live. Charmaine?
Yes, Kevin, I've been out here, as many of the protesters, I should say, have been out here since about 5:30 and are waiting to their phones for every new update that's coming. Now, I actually have Suzanne Ritchie, and I'm going to bring you into the shot a little bit, and you can step right over. And, you know, just tell me, you have a relationship with one of the inmates. Tell me about that.
Marcel Williams was my former student. I taught him English in the 8th grade at North Little Rock.
And just the emotion out here, and I know everybody's hanging on to their phones, looking for every single update. You know, 9:15 passed, everyone was coming over asking us pretty much what's going on. What's just the emotion out here right now?
I think the way anybody would feel at this horrible situation is very desperate. It's very tense. People are hoping hoping for the best outcome, that these people are human beings, and the idea of putting another human being to death to serve whatever purpose is difficult. Difficult would be the word I would say.
And I know a lot of people, thank you so much, Suzanne, we're saying they're going to be out here pretty much the entire night until any new details come. They're hoping that this actually does not happen, what I'm hearing from a lot of people here, but we're just going to wait out here and keep you posted as the time progresses. So going to send it back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you very much, Marshane. You heard the individual that she was interviewing make reference to Marcel Williams. He's also on death row. He's one of the 8 death row inmates scheduled for execution. His tentative execution has been scheduled for this Monday, but obviously that is a few days away. We'll see how that one plays out, especially with all the legal challenges that are still in roll. This just into Fox 16. This is from Jessie Tenor. She is down at the Cummins unit. She is actually inside the media room along with officials from the Arkansas Department of Corrections who are awaiting word. And as you can see here in this tweet she just sent out, the ADC spokesperson says awaiting guidance on Lee's stay before moving forward. We're told Lee is in a separate room not far from the actual execution chamber, but he has not been moved there as of yet. As we just saw in Jesse's tweet, they are awaiting instructions as it pertains to the stay, which still is in effect for Liddell Lee. In the meantime, there are a lot of developments here, a lot of moving parts, not only on social media, but down at the Cummins unit. As we take a live shot, there's the look from outside in the parking lot. We will continue to follow this developing story for you. We'll be right back with the latest information.
David Surgine of McClarty Nissan will do whatever it takes to get you a great price. But can he smash high prices way in the outfield? Yes. Yes, he can. McClarty Nissan wants everyone to have a great car and a better price. Like new Versas, 25% off MSRP. New Sentra, 25% off MSRP.
Only at McClarty Nissan, where the reason we sell so many is because you pay so little.
Amazing is a life filled with hope. Carolyn thrives on the comfort she gives to others. Between encouraging organ transplant patients and inspiring donor families, she's giving meaning to some of life's greatest gifts. And when a failing heart threatened Carolyn, it was a life-saving transplant at Baptist Health that helped her find her life's calling. Keep on sharing, keep on celebrating,
and keep on amazing.
For the care that keeps you amazing, visit Baptist-Health.com.
So I'm cruising here in my new Camry.
following the nav's predictive traffic. That's when I saw smoke coming from the pet store. I called 911 on the Bluetooth and began the rescue. The owner gave me this as a reward. Wait, you got a new Camry?
The 2017 Camry. It'll surprise a few people.
Get $2,500 customer cash, or qualified buyers get 0% APR financing for 72 months plus a $1,000 subvention bonus on a new 2017 Camry. Toyota, let's go places.
Dish was founded on innovation to cover the millions of Americans the cable companies wouldn't. Why? Because when we've gotten it right, it was when we were listening. Not to ourselves, but to our customers. And I'm here to spread the word. But I'm not a spokesman. Instead, I'm a spokeslistener. And I'm here to listen in an industry that doesn't. Why? Because at Dish, we're tuned in to you.
Professional and helpful, awesome experience, outstanding customer service. Those aren't our words, they're our customers. At Lander Chevrolet, give us an opportunity and we'll deliver the experience you deserve. Buy with confidence with our Lander Chevrolet promise, a price match guarantee, 3-day love it or leave it return policy, and 2 years complimentary maintenance. Right now, get the 2017 Chevrolet Silverado up to $15,000 off. Find new roads at LanderChevrolet.com, home of the Lander Chevrolet promise.
I know what you're thinking. Who wants to eat that? This is what you really want. The new Cheesy Melt Taco from Taco Bueno. It's part of the new Bueno Buys menu. Pick any 3 for just $3. Go ahead. You know you want it. In fact, you want 3. Try the new Bueno Buys menu at Taco Bueno, because you deserve better than whatever the bell you've been eating.
Fox 16 News is sponsored by Mark McClarty Ford.
Condemned inmate Liddell Lee was sentenced to death in the February of 1993 beating death of Deborah Reese. He was supposed to be scheduled for lethal injection at 7 o'clock tonight, yet here we are at 9:37, and he remains on death row, alive, thanks to a host of legal challenges. Fox 16's Marcy Manley on top of everything that's been going on, at least in the legal picture of this. Bring us up to speed where we stand at this hour. The clock is ticking. The 12 o'clock death certificate deadline expires at midnight. So where do we stand?
That's right. I mean, we've had sort of that time of running up to that first 7 o'clock, then 8:15, then 8:30, then 9:15. Yeah. It just has gotten, you're watching the clock, and I can imagine that most people are doing that. But now we're looking at midnight being the sort of time period that this execution warrant is good for. And at this point, all of his legal challenges are in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. And we've had several orders today that came down that denied the stay for execution and writ of certiorari in some of these related cases, and so now we have roughly 6 cases that are back in front of them through application. Our own Drew Petromo, he is up in D.C. Monitoring activity at the Supreme Court. And Drew, with all of these challenges now being up at the Supreme Court, that being sort of the last hurdle or saving grace for Liddell Lee, that 5-4 split on some of those earlier orders starts to seem somewhat interesting.
Yeah, sure. Earlier today, it was all basically from the Supreme Court. We're not going to issue stays on this execution. We're not going to even take up this case in order to extend the possibility of this execution being conducted tonight. So far they've refused to weigh in that way. But as you said, there are approximately 6 cases now, 6 pleadings in front of the U.S. Supreme Court seeking to have these executions not take place, or this execution not take place tonight. And it's interesting because it all goes through Justice Samuel Alito, because he is the one who is in control of the area of the country that Arkansas is in. There are 13 districts across the country. They are split among the Supreme Court justices, so everything goes through him. Of course, he has referred all these challenges to the full court. And so basically we are waiting for the court to rule on these different motions and give a final say and give approval or denial of the state to go forward with this planned execution.
All right, Drew, we appreciate the update from Washington, D.C. So there's still a lot of things that are in play, in action. We, of course, remain on a holding pattern. We will wait anxiously for a decision if and when that is handed down. Keep it right here on Fox 16 for continuing coverage of Arkansas's executions.
Hi, Steve Landers with Steve Landers Toyota. You know, my employees have challenged me, and now I'm challenging them. Both body and mind. Got one.
What are they trying to catch?
1, 2, 3, 4, Steve Landers thumb war.
Practicing.
And I challenge you to find a bigger selection or better prices. Come to Steve Landers Toyota and take the big challenge. Steve Landers thumb war.
Disney on Ice presents Worlds of Enchantment. Rev up for nonstop fun with Cars, The Little Mermaid, Toy Story, and Frozen. Your family's favorite Disney stories live in your hometown.
Opening night tickets are $12. Playing at Verizon Arena May 4th through 7th.
Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. 2016 JD Power Highest Quality Ranking. 10 Best blah blah blah. 2016.
Only about 90 more to go.
That's a lot of awards.
Find your tag and get 16% below MSRP on select Equinox vehicles in stock. That's over $4,700 on this Chevy Equinox. See your Arkansas Best Chevy dealer.
I've had pain in my back most of my life until I went to Arkansas Surgical Hospital.
If you're living with pain, world-class care is only minutes away. At Arkansas Surgical Hospital, our patients incur less infections and enjoy faster recovery times than any other hospital in Central Arkansas.
Since my spinal surgery, I'm able to do things like take my dogs walking, feeding the birds, or feeding the fish off the boat dock.
Take your life back. Tell your doctor to send you to Arkansas Surgical Hospital.
Hey, I finally found the secret to catching fish. You want to know what it is? You gotta go. You can't catch them if you don't go. And you can't go unless you have something that can get you there. And the best place to get that right is right here at Smart Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC in Whitehall. Make the smart drive to Whitehall today. Hey, be sure and tell them the Wild Man sent you.
No, you really think you're the guy. You really do.
Yeah, 27 red.
Whatever, dude.
Oh yeah, I gave you that number.
No, bro.
We're gonna go eat.
Hi, I'm Katie Bailey, Miss Arkansas 2007, inviting you to Welch Nissan in Pine Bluff. Welch Nissan offers unbelievable deals on a huge selection of new and used vehicles. Like new 2017 Altima starting at only $18,399, brand new 2017 Rogue starting at $19,895, or new 2017 Maxima starting at just $26,899. Come see the Welch team today in Pine Bluff or online right now at welchnissan.com.
Fox 16 News is sponsored by National Park Medical Center in Hot Springs.
Liddell Lee's execution remains on hold, but the Arkansas Department of Correction ready to spring into action when and if they are given the order. Fox 16's Donna Terrell joining me live from the Cummins unit with the latest from there. Donna, how are things at this hour?
Well, everything is quiet still. The Arkansas Department of Correction, they don't move very quickly in terms of providing information to the media. They give us basically what they want us to have and when they want us to have it. We had a conversation earlier with J.R. Davis, and he gave us some information, and our Mitch McCoy just came out a minute ago with information. It was basically the same information we got from J.R. Davis from the governor's office. But I will tell you this. Liddell Lee has had his final meal. He requested communion. And you know how that's just customary with executions. At 7 o'clock, he was expected to go through the process to be put to death, and there was a stay of execution. We're told by, actually, there was law enforcement out here that actually told us that he was in the midst of heading to the death chamber when that ruling came down, that stay of execution. He never made it into the death chamber. So then he went back to his holding cell. And then there were witnesses who were in cars headed to the witness room, they never made it inside of the witness room. So everything was at a complete stop. When you think about it, that information came after 7 o'clock. We're told that typically they start the process 15 minutes prior to the actual time. So they were a little late. Had they started on time, things might have been a little different. We're going to continue to monitor the situation here at the Cummins unit, and we will head to a break. We'll be back shortly.
We've got great memories in this old house.
And through the years, B.R. McGinty has always made sure our home is comfortable no matter what.
Thanks, B.R. McGinty, for helping our family have a good home for the good times.
B.R. McGinty, yeah.
Where's my cooler? My sandwich is in there. Oh, boy. Nice try, pal.
That feeling, only better. Confidence, thanks to a reinforced safety cage. Standard in the 5-star overall safety rated Volkswagen Jetta.
Hurry in and lease this 2017 Jetta S for just $159 a month. Visit VWDealer.com today.
We came to Arvest Bank to see what makes it different.
I love the app.
I use it to deposit checks,
Snap the pictures, enter a few things,
and then you just deposit.
It's that easy?
It's that easy?
It's so easy to use, my dad can do it.
What's the most unusual place you've used the mobile app?
On top of a mountain in a snow cave in Vail, Colorado.
While I was waiting in the drive-thru.
The deer woods.
Church.
Arvest Bank. Our customers say it best.
Why put another crossover on a road already filled with them? Why give it headlights like jewels, a body that feels sculpted? Why give it an interior where even the dash is cut and sewn by hand? It's simple. You can build a car or you can build a Cadillac.
Join us for Spring's Best. Purchase the 0% financing. Visit your Central Arkansas Cadillac dealers for this attractive offer.
To your neighborhood every week, so you can share the bakery fresh taste with someone you love. Sunbelt Bakery granola bars. Bakery fresh taste, no preservatives.
This is the Silverado Special Edition.
This is one gorgeous truck.
Oh, did I say there was only one special edition? Because actually there's 5.
Nice. Strength and style.
Make a strong decision. Find your tag and get 16% below MSRP on select Silverado 1500 pickups in stock. That's over $7,900 on this Chevy Silverado. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
We're there when you need us. Fox 16, your breaking news leader.
We are continuing to follow the developments taking place at the Cummins unit where condemned inmate Liddell Lee was tentatively scheduled to be executed this evening at 7 o'clock. However, a number of legal challenges has put us all in a holding pattern from the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. Fox 16's Marcy Manley playing our legal expert and doing a fantastic job because this can be very complicated for the average person. A lot has happened since the beginning of the day, but let's just jump to the last hour because a lot of developments have taken place there. Where do we stand right now? Obviously, Liddell Lee has not been executed, so why is that?
Well, basically, he has had those legal challenges pending, and the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is in the federal circuit court arena, wanted to consider those challenges that he had placed before them through appeal. And they essentially did that by putting in a stay. The Supreme Court also entered a stay once it had started receiving applications from Liddell Lee, and that stay is still in place. The 8th Circuit denied stays of execution for Liddell Lee through those processes, and now those are headed to the Supreme Court of the United States. We're getting these applications coming in. They're fairly thick briefs, and we anticipated that. The governor's office anticipated that, as did the Attorney General's office. So there's nothing unexpected about this, yet it does take time to work through this process. And until the United States Supreme Court